Go over to Lithuania, get some
It's all
run.
about the circus, I tell you that, so maybe. Bring him on.
Stories to start your morning. The Pelicans won their 7th straight game last night. They beat the Spurs 121-116. Anthony Davis led the way with 26 points, 15 rebounds. He's been having quite a stretch. What do you think, Chris Broussard? Is Anthony Davis sort of sneaking into the MVP conversation?
No
MVP
question.
voter.
And I saw Pelicans Nation retweeted that, or Instagram or something, that I said he's second now in the MVP race. Look, it doesn't really matter. All that matters is first. That's James Harden by a mile. But I do think I have to give it to AD at second. LeBron's obviously a better player still, but the Pelicans have what? Essentially the same record as the Cavs. They're playing a tougher schedule. Their second best player is hurt, as is LeBron's and Kevin Love. But I got to give the dude some love right now.
Listen,
his stats are better than LeBron's too.
I don't agree.
More points per game, more rebounds per game, higher PER. LeBron's got him in
far
the
fewer assists, and LeBron actually also has him in field goal percentage. But we're parsing. But we're parsing here. These are because I don't think it's ridiculous to have him second. I would have him third. We have the same 1, 2, 3. We just 1, 3, 2, 1, 2, 3. Anthony's been amazing. And if he does finish in the top 3, it will be the second top 3 MVP finish of his young career already. He doesn't turn 25 until later this week or next week. He's been great. He's really stepped up since Boogie went down. The Pelicans right now sit there. They're the 5 seed, but they're just a half game out of being the 3 seed.
I love to see the wins. That's what you want from the young player.
All right, to the NFL draft. Don't count Andy Reid among those suggesting 2016 Heisman winner Lamar Jackson make the move to wide receiver. When asked about Jackson playing quarterback in the NFL, Reid said, quote, "He's pretty good. I'd give it a whirl." Nick, should Jackson stick it out as a quarterback, maybe make the switch to receiver?
Of course he should stay at quarterback, at least for the next 3 or 4 years. Give it a real shot in the league. We see he's not going to be a top 10 pick. So in all likelihood, his best case scenario is going to a place where he will be competing for a starting spot. He won't be given a starting spot anywhere. But see if he can develop into an NFL quarterback. His upside is enormous with the throwing power that he has, the elusiveness that he has. I understand the questions about can he stay healthy? Does he have the body to sustain NFL punishment? But I have no reason to believe that he'd be a good wide receiver. I have plenty of reason to believe he'd be a really good quarterback.
Danny Cannell, I hosted with this show last week. He said he talked to Lamar Jackson, and Lamar told him he can't catch.
Well, that's
like
important.
so. That's a problem if you're a wide receiver. Yeah, you give him a shot at quarterback. I got some concerns about his accuracy, but not terrible concerns. What I do have concerns about are him staying healthy. That said, could he be a Michael Vick 2.0? I'd love to see him get the shot, and maybe he could. Vick got hurt, but he stayed healthy for the most part. He wasn't a great NFL quarterback, even at his best, other than 2010. I thought he was great in 2010.
Vick could have been in today's league. Today's league that is more okay with the college stuff, today's league that's more okay with the run-pass option, I think he could have been.
Maybe, but in that case, Lamar Jackson, maybe he can be.
And finally, Rob Gronkowski is now expected to return to the Pats in 2018. There had been some reports of the tight end considering retirement. But you know, with that weekend wrestling feel and Hollywood where things are right now, he just felt it better to stick with the game he knows, and that is football. Nick, how big a deal is this for Tom Brady and the Patriots to get this guy back?
Rob Gronkowski is Tom Brady's best teammate. Like, the best player on Tom Brady's team is Rob Gronkowski. That has been true for quite some time now. Now, they have shown they can win without Rob Gronkowski, but I would remind the audience, the year they won the Super Bowl without Rob Gronkowski, the defense appeared to be a much better defense and a much more talented defense than the one they have now. And as Brady gets older, obviously you want him to have as many weapons as possible. Gronk's the best tight end in football. When healthy, he's been the best tight end in football for the better part of the last decade. He's only 28 years old. It's not so much to me how much do they gain by him coming back, as much as it would have been how much would they have lost by him unexpectedly walking away. You don't expect a guy in the prime of his career, coming off one of his best seasons where he was healthy for the most part till that concussion in the playoffs, to walk away from the game. They didn't have a contingency plan for that. So it's good news if, in fact, he is officially coming back.
What's interesting to me is that the talk, and it was just yesterday, was it reported that he thought about retiring in training camp. And the reason given in the report was that he was unhappy with the atmosphere in New England. He wasn't having fun.
Yep.
They wanted him to train in a different way than he wanted to train. If that's the case, then, I mean, that would certainly just, some of the stories that came out, it would seem like were true. Even the Philadelphia players saying they don't have fun in New England. Will that be a problem next season? It just makes me wonder. I mean, you're seeing so much stuff come out about the Patriots. It's almost like you don't know what's true and what's not. But that's something that's interesting to me if that were indeed true.
Given how his contract is set up, the guaranteed money's done on his deal. So after this year, he has 1 year left on his deal, but the Patriots could trade him without taking any type of salary cap hit. He could play himself intentionally out of New England. He could play another year there and then force his way out, I should say. The precedent of guys that are Hall of Fame caliber players walking away in their 20s is so low.
Oh, yeah.
I know Patrick Willis walked away early. I know Calvin Johnson walked away early.
No, but he hasn't been on the decline at all.
Not at all.
Not
at all. He's been unbelievable.
All right, new topic. The New York Giants made some news yesterday, basically saying they're all in on Eli Manning as their starter next season. Even more surprising, new GM Dave Gettleman said they'd be open to trading that number 2 pick, which could mean they'd be missing out on a potential franchise quarterback like a Josh Rosen or a star running back like a Saquon Barkley. Here's Gettleman explaining his thought process entering the draft.
Are we open for business? I want to make. Any decision I make is going to be in the best interest of the New York Football Giants, plain and simple. So if someone makes me an offer I can't refuse, would I move back? It depends upon who's there. Because, again, if there's a guy worthy of being the second pick of a draft, and what we're basically saying, if we answer that question to the affirmative, you're drafting what you think is going to be a Hall of Fame player. Okay, so you can't get too cute about the whole thing.
I think one of the things we have to discuss is whether the Giants will ever find themselves in a position where they have this freedom. The number 2 pick, it's going to be a long time. We haven't seen this in a while, so you have to factor that in. What do you think, Nick? Would sticking with Eli instead of drafting a quarterback be a big mistake for this team?
I think it'd be an enormous mistake for them in the years moving forward. Now, I think they draft a quarterback and still start Eli.
Let him mentor him.
Yeah, give him a year. That used to be almost the standard protocol in the NFL, and now we've gone away from that. Yep. But the Giants are in a unique position. Typically, if you're drafting this high, it's because there is no quarterback on your team. You are Cleveland. You're like, we're screwed. Or it's a situation where your quarterback was injured the year before, like Indianapolis, sitting at number 3. What the Giants have to be honest with themselves about is this. Right now, in the NFC East, one of the tougher divisions in football, but obviously to get a home playoff game, to have a good chance to win the Super Bowl, you got to win your division. They not only have the oldest quarterback in their division, they have the worst quarterback in their division. When you have the oldest quarterback and the worst quarterback and the number 2 pick in a quarterback-rich draft, it's not that complicated. Find your favorite quarterback and take him at number 2. If you look at it and you're like, you know what, we actually think all these quarterbacks stink, or all of them stink except for the guy Cleveland ends up taking at 1, then I suppose there would be justification. But I don't believe that's the case. I think out of this draft, there's going to be at least 2 long-term starters in this league, potentially 3. If you're sitting at pick number 2, go find him, because that is your responsibility to the organization for the next decade. You've got one of the best, if not the best, wide receiver in football who's a young player. You still have potentially a good defense with some mostly veteran, but some young, really good players. You just drafted Evan Ingram. You can't go from Eli to no one. This is your opportunity to get that player.
Look, Gettleman's smart in saying we're open for business. Give me your best offers and we'll see what happens. I don't think he's saying we're definitely getting rid of that pick. We're not interested in a quarterback. I also could understand the logic if he's thinking Saquon Barkley, because obviously there have been some great running backs to go high in the draft and make a huge difference. Todd Gurley, Ezekiel Elliott, Leonard Fournette.
Yep.
So they need a running back. He may also think if we can strengthen up that offensive line, Eli can be pretty good for us again. I'm with you, though. All that said, they have to draft a quarterback. You have to. And you're right. Eli can start. Eli can groom me. You mentioned that used to be the protocol in the NFL. It was the protocol for Eli Manning. Kurt Warner was the starter when Eli came in and then took over eventually. And you could do that whether it's Darnold or Rosen. I'm not. Baker Mayfield is a little bit more of a question mark for me. We both have questioned Josh Allen, but you obviously with the number 2 pick can get Darnold or Rosen.
Right.
You bring one of them in. Not only can Eli show them the ropes from a quarterback standpoint, but how to handle New York, how to be a mature leader. I think you are making a huge mistake if you don't go quarterback.
You think the Giants think they've got more than a year left or in Eli Manning? Look, it's not like he had one bad year, but he's been great up
the last 3.
The last couple of years, he really has been declining.
And he's 37.
Correct.
And they think, look, Drew Brees is 39, Tom Brady's 40. I get it.
Category.
Yeah, they're better quarterbacks.
Different category.
But in New York, stuff is magnified. And people in New York tend to think things are either better or worse than they usually are.
But we all admit that they're worse.
But in New York, they think Eli is better. As great as Eli's been, and I think he's going to be a Hall of Famer. I don't know if you do. But in New York, they think he's better than he actually is.
Even if we want to not fully blame, and we shouldn't fully blame this last year on Eli. They lost their best player to injury. They had a coach who didn't seem to know what he was doing. Eli Apple and a lot of the defenders seemed to go AWOL or almost mutiny on the team. I get that. So let's just combine last year and the year before, the year they went 11-5, the year they made the playoffs.
Yeah.
Over those 2 years, for Eli, 45 touchdowns to 29 interceptions. That ain't great. An 83.3 quarterback rating. For context, the quarterback rating for his career, 83.5. So who he was over the last 2 years, who he's been forever. What is that quarterback rating? Where does it put you in the rankings of quarterbacks? Well, over the last 2 years, that 83.3, below Blake Bortles last year, below Andy Dalton, below Tyrod Taylor. For his career, a worse quarterback rating than Joe Flacco, Jay Cutler, Ryan Tannehill. He is a mediocre quarterback who has had flashes of brilliance. This is your chance.
Bowls.
Yeah, exactly.
Which is
Super
a great
Bowl
place
runs,
to have them.
for sure.
So what are we missing here? So what do the Giants see in him that they think?
I don't think it's what they see in him.
Okay.
I think it's what they see in the opportunity to get a stud player. I think that's what it is. I think it's the Giants are like, if we're drafting 2, we can get Saquon. Or if we trade down, we can get a couple starters for a team that does have some holes.
And then eventually go after a veteran quarterback.
I'm also telling you, having lived in New York for 20 years now, worked in the New York media, everything is magnified. They think Eli is better than he really is because he's delivered 2 Super Bowls. They don't see him as mediocre. I don't either, but they see him as close to elite. That was the reaction, why the reaction was what it was.
As a testament to that is, yeah, exactly. Think back to the local media reaction on radio, television, newspaper, the one game Eli was benched.
I know, that's why I said, is there any part of this that's a reaction to that, do you think?
I don't think that's a part of it because it's a new GM, it's a new head coach, but I do think Chris is right. Eli is a made man in this town. Absolutely a made man in this town because of what he did in those Super Bowls, and because of that, maybe they have a harder time pulling the cord on him. But again, you can draft a quarterback and still start Eli.
Exactly. All right, coming up, are the Houston Rockets the best team in the NBA? It's up for